Today's story comes from the the A-hole subreddit and was posted by She's a Texpert and was titled, "Would I be the a-hole here if I left the girls' trip with two guys early? I, 26 female, am on a bachelorette weekend. I don't want to be too specific for anonymity purposes since I'm still on the trip right now. I'm a few hours from home for what is supposed to be a 4-day weekend in a huge house with many girls and two guys who are friends of the bride. One of them I've never liked, and my partner and I were both not excited about him being here. He's never done anything specific in the past other than be a prick. I've met him several times, each time with my partner, and each time I see him fade to blackout from drinking and do things like stare at our friend's ass and hug her too long. Cut to this weekend, I decide to be cordial with him for my friend's sake, but I haven't spoken to him at all. As we got into the late night, I wasn't really drunk. I had 3 beers over 6 hours, but I like to smoke sometimes socially. I offered to everyone, and nobody else wanted to at the time, so I went outside alone. He came out, and I thought he'd change his mind. I offered it to him, and he said, "You're sweet," and I didn't respond to that. Then he complained about the groom. I said I thought the groom was a nice guy. I tried to change the subject to my work, something more neutral to talk about. That's when he grabbed me. He pulled me and tried to kiss me. I stopped our faces from touching with my hand, but I still had to push him off me after that. I felt completely violated. I told him, "I'm married," and all he could say was, "Oh." Then I told him, "Don't fucking do that again." And he said, "Obviously." And that was it. I ran off. I'm having flashbacks to times in my past where I was assaulted in college and completely freaking out. I told some girls I know, and they said it sucked and told me to just stay away from him. But I feel sick about it. The next morning, I don't feel any better, and a few others found out and seem like it's not that big of a deal. I feel so bad I can't stop thinking about it or let it go. I have obsessive-compulsive disorder, and intrusive or obsessive thoughts are hard to keep at bay right now. I want to leave so badly, but I don't want to be that girl, especially over a kiss that didn't even happen. I've only ever been with one person in my life, so maybe that makes me a prude, but it's not even the kissing. It's him thinking just because he wanted me, he could have me, and it didn't occur to him I might not want that. He just thought I was easy. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not drinking today, but it's not even 10, and he's had 4 beers. I already heard he doesn't remember last night either. So would I be the a-hole if I left? Verdict, not the a-hole. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, 1000% not the a-hole. You don't feel safe, leave. If I was your friend, I would understand. Based on your title, I thought your post was going to be a lot different. Hope replied, "Sorry, I guess I did bury the lead a little. I meant to put in some sentiment around it, not really feeling like a girl's trip anymore. I'm kind of all over the place today." Commenter 2 says, "Absolutely not the a-hole, he's a predator. As others have said, if the bride and her friends have a problem with you leaving and are fine protecting a predator who tried to assault you, they're not your friends. How did they even become friends with this prick if they know he has a history of this kind of creepy behavior?" Hope replied, "Childhood friends. I brought it up to her before that I don't like him, and she told me he's a good person, but doesn't make good choices. Sounds like an oxymoron to me, but we all have one friend the blinders are on for." Commenter 3 says, "Not the a-hole. If you feel unsafe, always leave. It's better to leave a situation than stay and maybe have something bad happen. If your friends don't understand why you want to leave after that, you're friends with the wrong crowd. He grabbed you and tried to forcibly kiss you. That's not okay." Hope replied, "Maybe I should be clear that I'm not friends with most people here, but friendly with a few. It sounds more like they're protecting the bride's weekend than protecting him. The general consensus is that he's a prick." Commenter 4 says, "If it were me, I'd be so mad. I'd wait till everyone was together in the kitchen or living room, have my shit packed in the car, and then announce that I'm leaving because apparently the majority of my friends want me to ignore the sexual assault from insert guy's name. Then I'd leave." Hope replied, "Ugh, he's one of those guys who goes by his last name too." Hope was asked whether she called her husband. Hope replied, "I called him right away last night. He was really calming and talked me through all my feelings and said, 'You obviously can't leave in your state, so just see how you feel in the morning, take it one activity at a time, and come home if you need to.' He said it should be the guy who goes home and agreed all our suspicions of him were true." But he understood I don't want to blow things up for my friend and give it a try, so that's what I'm doing. It's not going well. I suspect I'll go soon. Additional comment from Opie. Hope replied, "Hi everyone. I left, but not before things got worse. I will post an update momentarily and link it to my original post. Thanks for all the support. I needed some objective outside opinions to help me think clearly. Appreciate you all. Update 2 days later. I'll break this up into parts so you can read the bits you're interested in. Speaking anonymously to objective outside parties has been very helpful in checking my reality, so thank you all for your support. What happened since my post? I couldn't be normal as much as I really wanted to. I went along and spoke to the 2 people I know when we were in private about my feelings, but couldn't stop my anxiety from spiking throughout the day. I managed to stay away from him for a while, but it was hard to watch him enjoy himself so much and have the great weekend I was looking forward to. A separate B-plot here. You can skip this, just context, is that the bride's hometown friends were the larger half of the group and acted very flippantly and selfishly while me and her other friends from where she moved to after high school or college were left to take care of them. The maid of honor is her sister who didn't put a lot of effort into coordinating and is a big mean girl. She was momentarily fired for this behavior by the bride, but they made up. At one point we went to the beach and they had the 3 of us bring 10 chairs, 2 coolers, and an umbrella to the beach by ourselves while they all enjoyed the water. By the time we set it all up, they were bored and left us for a nearby beer garden, so we cleaned up their things for them, so we could go to the restaurant too. They decided they were done by the time we got to the beer garden and said we shouldn't even bother coming inside. The maid of honor told us that actually we needed to have fewer cars at the rental house, so we had to go move them to a remote lot 20 minutes away while they had one more round. So like I said, this guy and his friends from her hometown had the great weekend I was looking forward to, and it was hard to be part of that. Unknown to me, someone had told someone, and while they were at the bar, everyone spoke about what happened to me. The bride was really sorry it happened, but I don't know if she really gets it. She pulled me aside and asked me what I needed, so I said he needed to leave. She wouldn't ask him to leave, but said she will correct him. I don't think that she can correct this. I told her very clearly he was a dangerous person. She told me he was a good person, but just doesn't act like a human. That's quite the oxymoron to me, but fine. She spoke to him about it and told me he was sorry, and he cried and walked away to think things over. She said he was told to not be alone with me again. We had an expensive dinner I prepaid for that night, so with him gone for the evening, contemplating, I would attend it then go home in the morning since he wasn't leaving the trip. I felt lighter after that and had a really great few hours getting ready with the girls, singing throwbacks, and we all left before he could come back, so I was so happy. But 30 minutes into us being there, he showed back up without a word to me and started pounding drinks. By the time he had 7, we were less than an hour into his arrival, and I had to step away. My friend called to check in, and as I was on the phone with her, I took it in the parking lot sitting on a step. I felt a hand on my back, and it was him standing over me asking me to talk. As I backed away from him, he kind of held his hand out to grab me again, but I knew better this time to put a lot of distance between us. I told him I don't want to talk to him. He confirmed he knew I didn't want to be alone with him, but said he thought we should talk anyway. I asked if he was drunk, and he tried not to answer, so I asked again, and he said yes. I told him that it's not appropriate and to go away. He didn't, so I actually said the words, "Shame on you," out loud, and ran away to vomit in a bush from the adrenaline. I really wanted to slap him, but I didn't want him to think that would make us even if I did. The rest of the dinner, I cried at the end of the table, waiting to leave while he moped one seat over and crushed so many more drinks. He decided to refuse to eat from being so upset about me, yelling at him in the parking lot. All the hometown girls kept telling him to smile. "It's okay. Enjoy yourself. We love you. Don't let one thing ruin a good time," etc. None of those girls checked on me at any point, said sorry that happened. And from what I heard, after they seemed to think I was making a big deal over nothing and being very sensitive. It was crushing to watch them go so out of their way to cheer him up, but not offer me any simple kindnesses. For me, that's the opposite of the girlhood I love so much and have with my own friends. If this happened to one of them, I know that's not how I'd be acting. I knew sitting there I had to leave. I didn't feel safe or protected. I went back to the rental, locked my door, and left first thing in the morning along with my other 2 friends. Everyone else seemed to be relieved we were going. That same night, my husband met up with the groom and the husband of a woman on the trip with me. The groom didn't want to hear anything negative about the weekend, but my husband told him that it was a serious matter they could not brush under the rug, and they needed to handle the situation now. The groom only slightly listened and said he was drunk, didn't mean it, but it was still wrong and it sucked. My friend's husband couldn't believe how calm anyone was being and said they should drive down right away. I don't think that would have fixed anything, but it makes me like him so much more than I already did. So for now, I don't have any resolution. I felt instantly improved getting home yesterday. My husband and I ate Chinese food and saw the Odyssey, 10 out of 10 movie, and I'm a big fan of the epic, so that is high praise. I don't feel great about everything else, even my own actions. I feel like I brought everyone down and should have recognized that I needed to leave sooner. I don't think there will be any more updates on what happens with my friends either. This was for me to sort through my own stuff, not theirs. Frequently asked questions and clarifications. Title: Sorry, that was definitely confusing looking back. I wanted to leave the girls' trip that also had 2 men there early. Not leave it for 2 guys. Why not leave? My judgment or instinct to protect myself was clouded by my want and social obligation to protect my friend's special moment. I also paid close to $1,000 to be there, used paid time off, brought handmade personalized gifts for everyone, and have been very excited to be there to celebrate my friend. I was hoping to salvage some of that. My husband, I did call him that night, and he was really supportive. He talked me through my feelings, helped me calm down, told me that the guy should get kicked out, and we were right about him, and understood I wanted to try to keep things normal for the bride. It actually never occurred to me that someone might say I wanted it, or tell him I willingly kissed anyone, let alone this creep. If they did, he wouldn't have believed him. My friends, I was only close friends with the bride and one other person on the trip, and had 2 friends I wasn't close with yet on the trip. We're all close now, though. As for their reactions, I think everyone wanted to protect the bride's weekend, including myself. She only gets the one bachelorette, and it really sucks to have something so unfortunate happen on it. I certainly did not know how to handle it all, so it wouldn't be fair of me to expect them to know or act perfectly either. Comments about the kiss. I'm starting to think I shouldn't even phrase it that way. The problem is not that he wanted to kiss me. If he had said, "You're really beautiful, can I kiss you?" I would have laughed and said, "How drunk are you? Did you forget I'm married?" And that would have been the end. We weren't even making eye contact when he grabbed me. I was just trying to say something about a covariance model I was working on when I felt his hands on my face and on my leg pulling me to him. I don't even know when he stood up to be over me, and I only had enough time to put my hand over his mouth and then still push him up and off me. That's a big deal to me. Even if I were single, that wouldn't have been okay in my opinion. Special shout out to the message I was sent stating, "You're the a-hole. Just kiss him back already or more. What your partner doesn't know won't hurt him." Close. Thanks again for your support. Thought you'd all want to know I am home safe and recovering. I can't eat when I am really stressed and lost a bit of weight in the 2.5 days I was gone. I was able to eat 1 full meal after getting back and hope I'll feel normal again soon. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "Jesus, these people suck. Why bother associating with this group of scumbags who think sexual assault is cool and telling the creepy loser to smile, and it's not a big deal. And the groom sounds like a fucking loser. It's time to dump them and should have refused to move your car. The bride needs new friends." Hope replied, "We wanted to, but they had moved the cars after we left earlier in a way that made it impossible for us to park if we wanted to. These people are the worst. I don't get why she keeps such bad company. The bride is very kind, generous, and fun to be around. She is also loyal to a fault sometimes. I felt she was really trying to be there for me in the moment, but also there for him, which sucked." Commenter 2 says, "Yeah, high-key fuck everyone in that wedding or bachelorette party, starting with this loser. Then all the people enabling it, and every other stupid motherfucker who wanted to brush it under the rug. I seriously hope this helps you to reevaluate these friends and whether they're worth maintaining. Because this alone would be enough for me to cut ties with every single fucking one, including the bride and her stupid-ass oxymoron explanation for his behavior." Hope replied, "I need to talk with her again to know for certain where we are at. Like I said, this was a really difficult situation for everyone, and I can't expect them to know the exact right thing to do in that moment. She also was on her bachelorette, so she was never 100% sober this whole time. I have some grace for her, but I do think she needs to drop this guy from her life. Commenter 3 says, "This situation and response is how broken stairs get created." Shaking my head. I get that it was a super special once-in-a-lifetime weekend, but that dude is a problem. Hope replied, "I just learned about this metaphor through this situation, and it's so spot on. I know I already made enough allowances on this trip, and it's time to make stronger boundaries. In reality, it's not easy to throw away a decades-long friendship with a couple we've been very close with. I do want to see if some time and sobriety changes their perspective and if apologies follow." Commenter 4 says, "You may owe it to yourself to have a conversation with her for peace of mind to know you did everything you could." I'm like that. If there is any doubt in whose side she is on afterwards, then that is not your friend. That is someone enabling a predator, and you know you cannot trust them to do what is right. Take care of yourself, and the guy is lucky your husband hasn't taken action. I'll leave it at that since I'll get moderator banned otherwise. It would have taken hell or high water to keep me from showing up and offering to take you home that night. Your safety is greater than the bride's bachelorette." Hope replied, "This is the best way you could put it. Thank you. The first time I was assaulted in college, my husband actually stood up to go see the guy, if you know, you know. We spoke about it later how that wasn't helpful to me because it made it about the perpetrator and the anger towards him and not about me and the pain I had. I think he wanted to make sure he focused on me in that moment, or he would have hung up and driven to get me if we hadn't had that experience before. He told me later, once I was home safe, he in fact would like the chance to take care of him. But again, I think that would genuinely minimize it, and the creep would think we are even now and that the disrespect was to my husband for overstepping our marriage and not to me for forcing himself on me." Opie explained more about when she left the bachelorette weekend. Hope replied, "I left 2 days early. I just heard that they all got so drunk at lunch the day I left that someone threw up on the table, and most of them couldn't make it to the remaining activities anyway. Sounds like I missed a great time." Commenter 5 says, "Okay, there's being a victim, and then there's being a volunteer. You've given her several one more chances, but now it's your turn to listen to what she is telling you. She doesn't care. Whatever you used to have isn't there anymore. Please let go and protect yourself. She won't do it." Hope replied, "You make a very good point, I admit. This is definitely not how I would have acted in this situation if I were her." Commenter 6 says, "It is not easy to buck the norms of a group and point out a problematic person, situation, etc. It sounds like you have a good base of real friends with a matching moral compass, though, outside of the wedding group. Quality over quantity. I speak from experience." Hope replied, "My core friend group doesn't overlap with these friends. They all hate this guy and are livid with the bride for not kicking him out and for having him there in the first place. One of them actually sent her guy friend to the restaurant because he happened to be in the same city as me and wanted to make sure I was safe. Opie was asked if she plans to attend the wedding if the guy who sexually assaulted her attends. Hope replied, "I don't think I will go to the wedding unless she cuts him out. I really don't know. There have been many things to process in the last few days. I need some time." Opie was accused of being a doormat. Hope replied, "I don't think I'm a doormat. I think a lot has happened to me in a short period of time, and I need some more time to process before I am ready to let go of a very meaningful friendship. I care a lot about these people. Our families are friends. We travel together. They're who I call when I need a ride to the doctor. They dropped everything to be there for me when my mom died. I know on the internet this feels open and shut, but I have a true friendship at stake here, and she really failed me in a huge moment, and I still need more time to reconcile that both those things are true." Commenter 7 says, "Does the bride live back in her hometown, around these people, or in the new life? Because if it's the new life, things are about to get really awkward once she gets back to reality. I'm trying to see through her lens, but just can't imagine not having the back of a sexually assaulted friend, no matter the scene." Hope replied, "Yeah, she lives where we do. Her husband is from where we are too. I don't even think she thinks that was assault. I think she believed that my past experiences were causing my reaction to the situation. Where I am from people are more progressive socially, central politically, but still left-leaning. Where she is from, they are very conservative socially and have a dangerous party culture. The maid of honor, the bride's sister, had the same creep hanging all over her for half an hour, touching her hips and leg and side, and she didn't mind. She's engaged as well. He also smacked the bride on the butt, and she thought it was funny. When we have small parties at home, we are all 100% huggers, but that's it. None of this is considered normal at parties at the bride's house with people from my home. The second story is from some Thingamade subreddit. It was posted by Ma9Leb and was titled, I made a tactile 3D map for my blind friend's birthday. When I moved to Serbia, I was pretty lonely. New country, new language, not many people around. One day, I noticed that one of my neighbors was blind. He almost never went outside alone. Usually there was someone helping him. I didn't have some big plan. I just thought maybe I could ask if he wanted to go for walks sometimes. So I did. We started walking together and somehow became friends. For about a year, he invited me for lunch almost every Saturday. He cooked. We ate together. We talked. Sometimes I helped clean up a bit. Nothing dramatic, just regular Saturday lunches. I think a big part of my Serbian came from sitting at his table and trying to keep up. At some point, we were talking about geography. Which countries border Serbia? Where the sea is? Where the mountains are? How the region fits together. And I realized something obvious, but it still hit me. For me, if I forget where something is, I just open a map and look again. For him, a map is mostly memory. He can remember facts, but he can't just look at the shape of a country, the border, the coastline, the mountains, and rebuild the picture in his head. His birthday is next week, so I decided to make him a map he could explore with his hands. This is my first real 3D project, and it became much bigger than I expected. I had to take GIS data, country borders, elevation data, capitals, sea areas, tactile labels, braille cards, and somehow turn all of that into printable STL files. The annoying part was that looks good and works by touch are not the same thing at all. Borders can't be too thin because then you don't feel them. They can't be too thick either because then everything becomes a mess. Mountains need to be there, but not as a noisy blob. The sea needs a different texture. Countries need numbers, but not every country could have one. Some are just too small. One of the biggest headaches was Greece. All those tiny islands add detail visually, but on a tactile map, they can quickly turn into noise. A lot of this project was basically trying to find the balance between detail and clarity, so the map stays clean enough to be readable by touch. The whole map also had to be split into puzzle-like tiles because I can't print it as one piece. So I added little interlocking connectors, partly to hold the tiles together, and partly so he can feel which piece connects to which. It is definitely not perfect. There are things I already want to change, but it is real. I can touch the borders, feel the relief, move from country to country, and use the Braille legend to figure out what is what. I'm proud of it. I think he's going to like it. Small update. His birthday is on July 12th. I'll try to write a proper follow-up after I give him the map. It may take me a few days because I want to be present in the moment and not turn it into content immediately. I'll share what I can. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, "That's amazing. It would be great if you make it public. Maybe so that people can 3D print it themselves?" Ope replied, "Thank you. I actually have the code here. It's still a rough first version and the instructions need cleanup, but I'd love for people to use it or improve it." Commenter 2 says, "One incredible gift and such a neat project to sink into." Ope replied, "Yes, it was really interesting to make. The coolest part was finally holding it in my hands after months of designing it on the computer. It feels completely different as a real object. And I think it will be even cooler when I actually give it to him. I don't know how he'll react, but after so many kind comments here, I'm waiting for that moment even more." Commenter 3 says, "Is an amazing map. It always strikes me the world looks so very different when a different country is in the center." Ope replied, "A friend pointed out yesterday that if you take some paper maps and draw a horizontal and vertical line through the middle, they basically meet around the Balkans. So I guess we're the center of the world after all." Commenter 4 says, "You should consider reaching out to Clovernook Center for the blind and visually impaired. They're the largest producer of Braille worldwide and have started dipping their toes into 3D printing and developing an online database for free 3D printable files. Some of their current files include maps and landmarks, and they might love to add your files to their database. I've worked with them in the past and have nothing but good things to say. Hope replied, I didn't know about Clovernook, but this sounds very relevant. Thank you so much. Commenter 5 says, this is awesome. Well done. May I ask, what is the purpose of the tile with the letters in Latin and in Braille for your friend? Hope replied, good question. He actually doesn't know Braille yet. From what he told me, Braille education is not very accessible here in Serbia. So that tile is partly for learning. It lets him connect Latin letters with Braille symbols and hopefully later use them to read things like capital names on the map. Commenter 6 says, this is such a fantastic and thoughtful gift. Some of my work is in disability spaces, and I am disabled myself. And you came across one of the hardest walls I come across when working with non-disabled people. How we view pretty or nice doesn't always translate to functional and or practical for the person with a disability. I love that you took those considerations in and made the map useful for him over what might seem pretty to a sighted person. Love that you found such a great friend in a new place. Hope replied, thank you for your kind words. He really is a very good person. I think you might be the first person here to say something about him. Thank you. Commenter 7 says, this is an incredibly thoughtful gift. You really went about it by thinking about how he experiences the world and how he'd experience a texture map. It's just so beautiful all around. May you go the rest of your life without stepping in a puddle while wearing socks. Hope replied, yes, we spent a lot of time together, and I think I started to understand a little better how much being blind changes everyday life. I think he taught me even more than Serbian. I got a good friend, learned the language, and also got a lot to think about. Update 2.5 weeks later. A lot of people asked for an update, so here it is. Of course, my friend really liked it. When he saw the map, he was genuinely moved and cried. He spent a lot of time with it, but honestly, the part he liked most was Braille itself. He had wanted to learn it for a long time, but he had never really had an opportunity. So now we spend time together, and I teach him how to read Braille. It is difficult for him, but he really enjoys trying and puts a lot of effort and energy into it. And he keeps thanking me for being patient with him. At the same time, there are quite a few problems with the map itself that I discovered while using it with him. First, I used regular raised numbers on the map instead of numbers written in Braille. That is, of course, a downside. Second, the dots on the Braille alphabet came out quite small and sharp, so they're difficult to distinguish. I tried to use standard Braille dimensions and spacing, but after 3D printing, the result was not quite what I expected. Everything looked normal in the model, but by touch, the dots were not as comfortable or easy to distinguish. Because of that, learning is more difficult for him, since the dots themselves are hard to tell apart. But he is trying very hard, and he is already making progress. I think that in the second version of the map, I will take all of these problems into account and make it better. Relevant comments. Commenter 1 says, have you talked to him about projections? Because I can imagine that is something that does not come across as very intuitive to a blind person, since most analogies for them literally come from visualizing maps. Hope replied, my friend wasn't born blind. He lost his sight over the past 10 years, so he has the same basic understanding of maps and top-down views as a sighted person. But if I understood your question correctly, yes, this kind of projection may not be intuitive for someone who has never seen. I spent some time explaining how the map works, what the different boundaries represent, and how to interpret it. Commenter 2 says, Braille is such an obvious use for 3D printing. I hope the industry can figure out an advertised standard for different applications so it's easy for people like you. Hope replied, I think it's worth looking into. There may already be some established standards or ready-made models. However, not every 3D printer can reproduce the required shape accurately. It probably depends on the nozzle diameter and print settings. Commenter 3 says, I can't imagine how difficult it is to map this in your head through touch alone. You're both amazing humans. Hope replied, yes, it takes him quite a lot of time, but he genuinely enjoys it. When I see him getting absorbed in the map and spending time exploring it, I feel that the whole project was worthwhile. For me, that's the best reward. Additional comment, 16 days later. Op replied, I'm the OP from that post. Thank you all for the positive comments and feedback. I still can't fully process how many people have now heard this story. For me, it didn't feel like something extraordinary. I don't mean that I regularly make tactile maps, but I do try to do kind things for people and make them happy when I want. That's simply how I was raised and how I try to live. This gift was mostly an expression of my love and gratitude toward this person. When I had just moved to a new country and was going through a lonely period, he was kind to me. He kept me company, invited me over, and spent time talking with me. I'm very glad that the post is still alive and that my simple, personal story continues to reach people. I read each comment. Thank you.